In Perikatan National, there are only a couple of strong figures.
Now, with his resignation, what does that signal to you, at least as an analyst?
I think it could be nothing,
Umno has always had this faction within them that is like no DAP, no Anwar.
How many seats that PAS willing to sacrifice to give to UMNO?
Hello everyone and welcome to yet another episode of Beyond the Headlines, the go-to space for the top stories that made the headlines and more. I'm Amalina Kamal.
And I'm Juliana.
And today, we're unpacking two major developments shaping Malaysia's political landscape. First, we've got the leadership transition within Perikatan National itself and the implications of the upcoming UMNO General Assembly.
Exactly. Now, these moments come at a very critical time because as parties recalibrate their strategies ahead of the next general election, balancing internal pressures and then coalition politics and shifting voter expectations. So now, if you've been following the news very closely lately, you will know that Perikatan National is currently undergoing one of its most significant transitions since its formation following Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin's resignation from the coalition's top leadership on January 1st. Right? So now as a main opposition bloc, the coalition now finds itself at a crossroads, balancing internal power dynamics between Bersatu and PAS while trying to project unity and readiness for the next general election.
Indeed, and this particular leadership vacuum has actually raised question about cohesion, ideological sort of direction, and whether PN can actually evolve beyond personality politics into a more structured and cohesive, credible alternative government. Because the transition also comes at a point when voters are increasingly scrutinizing opposition unity, governance competence on both sides, and policy clarity ahead of the general elections, the GE16, right? Now, we talk about, PN, but we want to talk about the current house, right? Or at least a portion of what makes the unity government, UMNO, entering its General Assembly soon amid deep internal debate. Now, this particular General Assembly, also known as PAU, is going to take place in January 2026, but it's actually a spillover from 2025 because apparently there's a lot to discuss. There's a lot of uncertainty still and a lot of, clarity when it comes to their position in Malaysia's politics.
Exactly.
It's a key pillar in the unity government, the party, because it's caught between, maintaining political relevance as well as, having to ensure the power sharing addresses grassroots dissatisfaction or at least needs, basically.
So now with leadership contests, right, on the horizon and pressure from youth and also the divisional leaders, the Assembly is expected to be a platform for signaling both loyalty and dissent. Now, the decision, the rhetoric and silences at this assembly will be closely watched for clues on whether UMNO is consolidating its position as a governing partner or preparing for a strategic realignment ahead of the G16.
And of course, to help us unpack this and dive better, who else but not Professor Dr. Muhammad Azizuddin, Muhammad Sani, political analyst as well as academic. Thank you so much for being on Beyond Headlines. It's your first time here, but definitely not the first time for us getting your insights on anything or everything that is Malaysian politics.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Prof, to start at least, when we go with the Perikatan National drama here at least, with the resignation of Tan Sri Muhyiddin, right? We do know the formation of the coalition has always been Tan Sri Muhyiddin as the poster child. Now, with his resignation, what does that signal to you, at least as an analyst?
I think it could be nothing, it's just, political theatre, just to somehow the way of negotiating within the Perikatan National Party, because as we know that since a few years ago there's some from PAS that actually demand change of leadership, particularly in Perikatan National, and supporting somebody else, not Muhyiddin Yassin, to lead the Perikatan National and also lead Bersatu. So this, I think, upset Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin. And with the debacle and also with the controversy surrounding the appointment of new Menteri Besar, Chief Minister in Perlis, then I think it's trigger. It come to the climax that some leader, particularly Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, feel that they cross overboard in terms of pushing him to be the leader in Perikatan National. So what interesting to observe from this aspect, he resigned and a few leaders from Perikatan National also resigned, particularly head of Perikatan National in the state level resigned, but the party decided not to leave. If you resign, normally you want to bring your party out of the coalitions, but bersatu still with Perikatan National. There's a survey done by Future Institute, Institute Masa Depan. So this research actually they survey about 1,602 I think respondents, and out of probably 100%, 46% of the meaning sample saying that they want Muhyiddin Yassin. Actually, the highest in terms of numbers of percentage to support who's going to be the next Prime Minister. Support Muhyiddin Yassin. However, Anwar Ibrahim is number 2, 39%. But one thing interesting is about this survey, this survey done by think tank of Muhyiddin Yassin. So meaning that. Still, I think this gives a signal that Perikatan National could be still one Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin to lead the party instead of other anyone else. Which is I don't think President of PAS, Dato' Sri Hadi Awang, because he's not really well in terms of health right now, even though still speaking a lot about so many things. I don't think Deputy Minister can be atau Deputy President can be the one who be the leader of the party, because we see the history before when somebody who's not the President of party lead the coalition or even to become Prime Minister, then it won't last longer.
But that's where the situation is. Either it's paralyzing for Perikatan National, or is it seen as a reform set, if I may say? Because now in Perikatan National there are only a couple of strong figures, Muhyiddin and you just mentioned Hadi Awang, which is very, very obvious. And in the news, there's a lot of suggestion from Sanusi said he doesn't feel he's the right person to helm the chairmanship. He suggested Samsuri instead, but Samsuri has been keeping quiet. And then there's a picture of him meeting Tan Sri Muhyiddin quite recently. So that kind of like strengthened the speculation that he's going to be taking over. But then again, before that happens, like I said, there's not a lot of strong figures who will be able to take over. But does it seem like how messy it is, Perikatan National is now?
It's really messy. That's also the signal. The resignation actually as a signal to PAS that you actually could not lead the coalition party. So it must be from Bersatu as well. So
Bersatu doesn't want it.
I think.
Do you think Bersatu doesn't want it because they're trying to make a point or manage the expectations of their fellow coalition members, because they don't want to rile up further? Because when within Bersatu itself, we have seen a lot of people leaving as well. Sometimes beyond their choice.
And then the thing is, what upset Tan Sri Muhyiddin actually when PAS come back, to argue on Mufakat National, national consensus, saying that we have to pursue this. Definitely, in order to make the argument of Mufakat National, you have to bring UMNO into the circles, And when UMNO came, definitely, I think the suggestion is UMNO going to lead the Mufakat National with PAS everything. So this upset also Muhyiddin Yassin. So that's why this trigger the I won't say mass, but many of top leaders of Perikatan National resigned, and now in the negotiation, I think we've passed. I think sooner or later they have a consensus to reappoint Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin to become chairman of
because on that, when the moment that he announced his resignation, of course, we got a reaction from so many people, from Tun Faisal to Ahmad Faisal Azumu, saying, so Tun Faisal was saying that, yes, he resigned, but they will still need to discuss about the resignation, whether the whole coalition would be accepting the resignation or not. So they have yet to have a Perikatan National Majlis Tertinggi Leadership Council meeting. Even as this time of recording, just a disclaimer for the viewers out there, it hasn't happened yet. It's already Thursday. So do you see like a bayang-bayang that this whole coalition parties, component parties might not accept the resignation of Muhyiddin, and he would have to continue being the chairman.
Now it's still negotiation. Not all can accept. But of course, PAS now eager to lead because they are the biggest bloc. There's no other chance after this, that they can lead because they always, throughout the years, they become subordinate for another party. PKR within Pakatan Rakyat and, then when they left, they always be the second choice in order to form a coalition. So now is the best time for them to lead. But the signal coming from Satu saying that who's going to lead? Perikatan Nasional. None of the leader can be able. Samsuri is not president of party, even not deputy president. So how he could lead?
This is just a strong political figure, but in the party itself doesn't carry enough weight. You're saying like this.
They have Gerakan and MIPP, but then Gerakan and MIPP president like Dato Dominic or Muhyiddin are not the suitable candidate for.
One thing that also the stumbling block for PAS, because PAS always argue one thing is kepimpinan ulama. The religious scholars must lead the party. So then the party in the coalition, if they lead, so the president or the chairman of Perikatan National must be the religious figure.
Right.
So who's the best person in that position? I think Hadi Awang. But thinking of his condition right now, I don't think him. And Tuan Ibrahim Tuan Man say that I'm not the person. So who?
I was just about to lead to that because because what if it's Tuan Ibrahim Tuan Man, but then he's also expressing he doesn't want it. So honestly, in the Perikatan National Coalition, are there any qualified leaders? Because what is this behavior and attitude of like not stepping up to the post, right? I mean, it should reflect some sort of confidence. I mean, if I'm voting for that particular party, macam takkanlah we want someone yang takut-takut like that.
When you say what's this behavior, I'm like, Puja, what's this behavior?
Exactly. No, I mean,
I think they don't have enough experience to become a national leader. State leader, yes. Samsuri, state leader Sanusi, state leader Tuan Ibrahim Tuan Man, probably can be a national figure because he used to be a minister before. But in terms of experience, they don't have enough experience to lead a party and to lead the countries. So that's why I think they'll be reluctant to accept that position. So sooner or later, I think come back to the president of Bersatu to lead. So that's why I think could be nothing. Could be Datuk Muhyiddin Yassin come back as a leader.
Okay, but let's say if PAS does end up having to hold, the presidency of that particular coalition, someone from PAS having to hold this particular position, right? What do you think would affect much, especially when it comes to PN's appeal in the next GA16 at least?
So I think first of all, because Malaysia always stress on personalities, meaning that the personality is very important. Who's going to be the leader right now? Okay, I would say that if not Tuan Ibrahim Tuan Man, probably Idris Ahmad and another one besides Samsuri, person that become the chairman of the Perikatan National. Okay, another thing is what's the direction that they would bring for the countries, because Perikatan National need to be seen as the alternative for Perpaduan right now. So
and that's the question of the voters who are not Malay Muslim juga kan, they have to think about. So what's their appeal then?
So for example, like if Samsuri is going to be the chairman, Samsuri professionals, then the approach might be different compared to like Idris Ahmad, because Idris Ahmad can be seen as a hardliners. We bring more of the religious issue, religious demand probably, and also to project countries more towards Islam, something. Whether it's acceptable to non-Muslim is another issue, big issue. But having said all those things, whoever to form a government, either you were previously very hardliners or a bit moderate, but sooner or later you become centrist. You have to, because you be a party lead the government that must be represent multiracial societies that Malaysia has right now.
Right.
So PAS, I think, in order to project themselves as Perikatan Nasional, to project themselves, they cannot bank in sentiment anymore. Malay sentiment or whatever.
It's not politik kampung anymore basically. And when I say kampung, it's like it's not focused towards having to get your vote for that constituency.
So talking about voters, if I may menilik kejap. So what do you see is the current take of the coalition in these days?
That depend first, I think, depend of their relation with other component party. Bersatu used to be the main players or the main party in the coalition suddenly become subordinate to PAS, and how they behave together, So
and
it
don't
depends.
forget Gerakan and MIPP too.
Gerakan and because Gerakan used to be very upset to PAS because of last generation nomination of their president being somehow denied. So later on he managed also to contest, meaning that there's no support to the Gerakan in campaign, even though they are in the same coalition. So in a way, there can be, if PAS lead Perikatan National, component party could be upset with that decision, and they decided probably take different approach, leave Perikatan National in total or form another coalitions. So it depends on the arrangement now. That's why now it's a bit messy in Perikatan National because we don't know who's going to lead, which party is going to lead, and what direction this party is going to be, and what the alternative policy that they're going to bring to compare to perpaduan. So, and we only have about less than 2 years to have a generation. So how you manage to settle everything?
Yeah.
If not, then I think this political tussle in Perikatan National bulls perpaduan actually.
Betul.
For context, the Parliament has to resolve before mid-February kan, by mid-February kan, next year.
I think the last month to resolve, I think by if I'm not mistaken, by November. But the election must be held 60 days after that dissolution. So meaning that the last date, I think probably by January 2028. That's the last period. Yeah.
Okay.
So you were saying that this whole what you observe within Gerakan, MIPP and Bersatu and PAS, this has been going on way before the current shake-up, right?
Yeah.
So now with this shake-up, do you think it will make any difference about how the voters view them or supporters view them?
But I think in terms of the Chinese, because Pergerakan and also MIP, they actually, those who support them actually from different the other ethnic, meaning the Chinese and also the Indian. But as we know that in terms of the support of Chinese Indian, still with perpaduan right now, because the EP I think garner a lot of the majority of support of the Chinese vote still until today, even though there's some issue in Sabah recently in the state election, but I think in general in the peninsula still with the EP and also with perpaduan, also Indian, still with MIC and also and with PKR,
right?
Even though some still argue that they now no longer distrust, the perpaduan of because of certain issue. But when it comes to election, I think because all the big parties still with, that representing the Indian still with the perpaduan, so I think probably they're still supporting perpaduan. But the Malay, yes, significant numbers, majority of the Malay still with Perikatan National.
From a strategic perspective though, what sort of leader does the coalition need, the Perikatan National coalition need right now? A unifier, a mobilizer, or at least a hardliner? I mean, don't talk about like one demographic lah.
Yeah. If they become hardliners, of course, definitely when you play around with religious issue, race issue, you can lure a lot of the Malay, particularly like you mentioned from kampung, from rural area to support the party, but it doesn't guarantee that they can win in national election, because in order to win, they are in terms of constituency, they are divided. Some probably constituencies, 80%, 90% of the majority actually Malay. But many of the constituency that in Malaysia that we know is a mixed seats, So, and when it comes to mixed seat or urban area, still I think the favor comes to perpaduan, because perpaduan bring a new, not really a new, actually become centrist. So they are very welcoming, the diversity,
right.
And the projection now. What I think the success story of perpaduan of Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim as a Prime Minister,
correct,
is in terms of economics, because our economy is now getting better, as we know that a lot of analysts arguing that if our economy is better, then the young and also the even the urban Malay will give support to those who bring prosperity to the countries. last few years when we had general election, during that time we have difficulty. We are still struggle to overcome pandemic. So that's why now I think it's much better. We are, in terms of growth, in terms of our economy, is one of the best now in Asia. So if this continue, even though we're not sure in next 1 year or 2 years what's going to happen, but if this continue, I think perpaduan is going to get a lot of support, subject to if Perikatan National, like today, only banking on sentiment issues, race and religion issue, because they have to come up with alternative policy for the current budget, for example, or government budget or government policy. What's your alternative to this? You criticize the government, but what's your alternative?
You're not showing off anything substantive.
Interestingly that you mentioned, because even when the coalition government, I mean the unity government of the day was formed, I mean PN quickly came up with their own shadow cabinet, kan? But there's nothing from the shadow cabinet or like whoever minister is supposed to banter about challenge, but we don't see that. Not even in parliament, right? We only see bantering, we only see infighting, but there's no actual sort of like constructive engagement happening. So
I think in Perikatan Nasional, the opposition now they have certain people, certain MP that they give tasks to oversee or even to check and balance of the ministers or portfolio of the ministers. So they have people that doing that. The problem is when the government come up with the budget, for example, and Pakatan Harapan used to be every year they produce an alternative budget, and we can see which one is better, and we can do a comparison. But now when we ask Perikatan National, why not you come up with the alternative budget? And they always say that, wait until we become government, then we have a budget. It's not the way to become opposition. You have to always
the check and balance needs to be practiced.
That's their role, basically. So now whatever next move that they're going to take, they have to be very, very careful, because at the moment it seems like they are in a very paralyzing state. Not even a reform, a reset. It looks like a paralyzing state phase. Now recently there have been discussions that they want to bring in, what do you call it, loosening up to bring in non-Malay partners to counter the idea that they're only Malay-Muslim bloc, right? Even if they want to do that, do you think that's even realistic? Given the
Perikatan National
Perikatan
National wants to loose up and bring in more non-Malay partners.
They have promised that.
If they want to bring more non-Malay partners, they have to be centrist as well. They cannot be hardliners. Of course, hardliners will bring support from certain group who are probably traditionalists or fundamentalists or very, extreme in their thinking of certain issues. But not all Malaysians like that. Not all Malaysians is very open, thinking about their families, want growth, want prosperity in the countries. Well, definitely they won't support that kind of, image or politics that always banking on certain sentiments of race and religion. So definitely, in order to bring the others, you cannot be a highliner. You have to be.
You gotta have some really deep reform changes. In order to actually win in mixed constituencies, no? And also political approach as well. Political approach need to be moderate and their policy also suited to the other party to join. If not, then I think they don't want to join you. Of course, you can have continue get the support from certain states, for example, who are. Very dominant, and if you play certain issues that the state people over there can support, but definitely you cannot win Malaysia. Malaysia is very diverse, so many.
No, because and also like when we talk about the federal level, it's a different sort of ball game, because then you have to think about Sabah and Sarawak as well. Look how the AP even failed in the Sabah elections. They have a strong footing here in Peninsula, but surprisingly enough, PAS has made its footprints in Sabah with just one win. But still,
better than nothing.
Exactly. So I mean, when it comes to Malaysian politics, I mean things are really unpredictable because we are very party based. Yes, I do agree. In Malaysia, personality politics take win. But
Takes precedent.
takes precedence. But thing is, it's also depending on which party you fall under, right?
Yeah.
And the president of a party will eventually, I mean, if they have majority, then they will become the prime minister of Malaysia.
Yeah.
It's not as simple as like, you know, okay, if you're a good personality in politics, you can become the next prime minister. But you have to think about the internal politics within your own party itself. But don't you think what PN's faction right now, the fragmentation of the factions, actually reflect their discipline, that they are actually not the best sort of administration at the moment? If, I mean, going into, let's say like, if tomorrow dah GE 16 with this sort of attitude, it's not the best sort of governance that we want, and administration that we want, and this sort of uncertainty.
Yeah. When they don't set, you know, what's actually next for them. You know, of course they want to be in the government next, but how to become a government, they're not really set well. That's why they still rely on, you know, like Perikatan National to become the agenda, which is already, I think, you know, cannot be suitable anymore. How you can have one, you know, coalition only among Malay party, Malay base, when in the country we accept democracy, you know?
Yes.
We accept choices. So people have choice to choose whatever. Even though sometimes choices are not very good. Because when too many party, in terms of voting splits, then no party can win the majority seats.
As the saying goes,
which is what we had a hung parliament.
Choosing the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, since we're talking about that, right? Like, how can a party exist? Just for one, when nationally we are pretty diverse. Now we go into UMNO. All right, because of course, you know, with the key fault lines, especially within the party itself, heading into the General Assembly, Professor, I mean, the word unity has been thrown around, especially for the past few years, a lot. When I say thrown around, some they use it properly, some they use it for their own political mileage. But at this particular juncture, at least for UMNO as a party, we know how it fared under BN in the last election, right? Going to GE16, what should be the focus? And what, I mean, is the leadership strong still? Is there a culture that needs to be eradicated?
In terms of leadership, it's clear already. Dato' Ahmad Zahid is the president, and now is not the time now to bring chaos in the party. You know? So I think this coming, you know, General Assembly, the political leaders must, you know, rally people, you know, behind the party, and okay, we have to move forward to win the next election, you know, because now they should think about the potential of they win many Malay seats, for example, because they cannot contest with other party which is non-Malay based, so they will contest against other party who are also Malay based, like PAS or Bersatu. So I mean, now is the big time for them to, you know, garner their support and you know, strengthen the party, and you know, come in the next generation and win back certain seat that lost in the last general election. And they have opportunity for that because Perikatan National in chamber, you know, struggle right now. You know, so then I think they have to take this as an opportunity for them to strengthen themselves. But having said that, still there are some circles, you know, people in the party still banking or still supporting Perikatan National with the Pakatan Harapan and also with the unity government right now. They know that, you know, once in order to really strengthen themselves, they have to be in the coalition because they're in the government. Right. They cannot be in the position like what Dr. Akmal argue. They need to, you know, withdraw from the government and become there's no way. Now is the best opportunity when you in the government, you take opportunity in the government to get as much support that you can get from particularly the Malay community.
So you would argue that you would argue against Dr. Akmal for his stance at least to have UMNO back out from the unity bloc.
I think if given chance, PAS also want to be in unity government, and now UMNO or Perikatan National become part of unity government. Why suddenly you decide okay, better we become an opposition when you being, you know, together in the government? So the best way actually is still continue in government and take the opportunity while in the government to bring back support from the Malay community, and you have the opportunity of that.
So scenario A is that, or scenario B, they're thinking that let's do something drastic and then shock the entire nation to see that okay, it's possible for UMNO to probably work with PAS under Perikatan National, which is why Dr. Kamal has been so strong-willed about the idea of that.
Because we have to remember, before this, UMNO has always had this, faction within them that is like no DAP, no Anwar, right? So do you think that's rising again?
Yeah, certain group in the UMNO still thinks that there should be no DAP. There should be no DAP in the part of, because as we need to understand, BN form a unity government with Pakatan Harapan, and not only Pakatan Harapan, also GPS, GRS and other party, So not they joining together with the AP, and they will not contest in the same constituency with the AP. But of course, UMNO, Perikatan National, will contest in the same constituency with PAS and so on. But if they in the coalition with PAS, for example, so can they argue? For example, Dr. Akmal argue how many seats that PAS willing to sacrifice to give to UMNO?
Right.
In order to strike the balance, if you really want to talk about Malay unity or Perikatan National, how you can able to sacrifice in order to form a coalition. I don't think PAS willing to sacrifice the seat that they won already.
I agree.
So if that's not the case, so the issue of candidacy is not resolved, no need, no need to be part of the same coalition with the so idealistic idea of Penyatuan Melayu, Malay unity, which is, I think, for me as well, Malay always unite. When comes issue of race, religion, they always unite. Similarly like Chinese, when they have the certain issue of, education, culture issue, they will unite, But of course, in order to become a government Malaysia always, since independent, always form coalitions. We cannot have one single party that form the government.
Right.
We're always a coalition. So in a way, we need to understand the reality of Malaysian politics.
Of Malaysian politics.
So in a way, it's okay if one Malay-based party in the government, but another in the opposition is within the right of people to choose something like that. Because democracy is always about freedom of choice to choose who in the government. But I think for BN, they have to be smart. Then not suddenly, we're willing to be opposition. No, I don't think so. If the opportunity comes to become government, you have to be in government.
Plus, now is not the right time to be fickle-minded about it, whether you want to do it or you don't want to do it. And secondly, they have to be careful where they step. Because we have less than 2 years, and they really need to make a strong optics to be able to carry themselves to survive the G16, right? Now within UMNO itself, the youth wing has been vocal about coming from Dr. Akmal. But what do you think from coming from the women's side, Puteri UMNO punya wing?
For women, actually, they always very strong supporter of the party, and they become the missionaries of the party. Very effective missionaries in the party. So I think their roles always like that, But the Malay, I think probably because it's our culture as well, the Malay always take the lead on many aspects of the political party. So of course, different idea or even controversial idea also been become being produced through the youth wing. Youth wing always come up with this different kind of approach, ideas, probably relevant to the new generation instead of, That's why I think to become a bit controversial is also become more popular. In
the past we had KJ, we had Rafizi, Ramli, siapa lagi? We had a...
We're talking about pemuda punya leaders lah, not within a certain party lah. Yes.
In general, of course, new generation always want to see something which is likable or even their peers like.
Right.
New ideas, new approach. It always be like that, But when it comes to reality of politics, then sometimes they have to be part of, the bigger group, in order to, set up the agenda for the nation. So I feel fine if Pemuda UMNO come up with a different approach to the and I think I can see the leadership of UMNO also very welcoming to the different ideas,
Right.
But when you keep consistently projecting, UMNO to continue to, struggle for Perikatan National or join for Perikatan National and ask the party to leave the government, that I think no for party, because
there's a lot of convincing to do.
you have to plan yourself really for
It's very
next
haphazard
generation,
for that kind of
Yeah.
decision to be made, or even like suggestion to be thrown around like willy-nilly without even having some sort of like backing,
Yeah.
or like you said, optics. I understand that earlier you mentioned, I mean, UMNO's leadership is really intact, you know, with Zahid having to macam assure and reaffirm the influence that the party has. But I do have this question. If, let's say, there is a shake-up and I mean, you know, having to signal something different for the upcoming general election, right? Can UMNO realistically still attain the Malay-based votes that they always had, that they've always strived for?
One thing that I observe now, UMNO, they always struggle to unite their own people, you know, to be with the leadership. That's the main, because of that struggle, they forget about other things. But the most important thing is the people, how the people perceive of UMNO. So UMNO need to be seen, you know, continue to struggle for the people. Then I think they try to prove that, you know. For example, like recent, Dato' Ahmad Zahid, for example, you know, they know that one thing that lacking of the Malay is education. So, and of course, new generation like to go to, you know, like religious studies, you know, but they're not really good in skills. That's why the current Deputy Prime Minister, Dato' Ahmad Zahid, President UMNO, want to bring TVET, for example, to the Malay community and ask many of Tahfiz people from the religious schools, why not you also study about skills, you know, that can be used in your
The real world, in that sense, yeah.
After this, you know, in your life, you know.
Yeah.
So meaning that there's ideas, certain things that bring through Mara. For example, I think Ashraf Wajdi, Dato' Ashraf Wajdi also, I think very famous among the people, because he's the chairman of Mara. Always, you know, suddenly
on the ground, having to also encourage like students to participate in not just their own sort of pursuit, but having to engage in extracurricular activities as well, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in terms of Malay, they see what their leaders doing right now.
Yeah.
But relying on those two people is not enough. I think all UMNO members need to play some role somehow to also bring the Malay back to support UMNO. And so that, I think, and try to avoid many infighting. The problem is too many infighting within faction in UMNO, which makes the party weak. So that's something that in the next coming generation, they have to unite all the leaders.
Close up the ranks in that sense. But
a
lot, the contention is also because why I asked the question earlier is that because UMNO is sharing power with Perikatan Harapan, right? So there's an argument of, its political relevance is dwindling. And probably that's one of the reasons why, perhaps that's why Dr. Ahmad Saleh is reacting or, showcasing that sort of behavior again. So, like, in this particular context, right, like, how can we ensure whatever UMNO pushes for is not necessarily just for within the leadership, within the members, within whoever's like at that persidangan. As it spills over across to the voters at least. This is something that's very new that not a lot of people think about, right?
Yeah, that's why I think of course, the main concern of them is to get support for the Malay, but of course they're not really representing only the Malay, but also other people. That's why to strengthen Perikatan National also very important for them.
I mean, let me just address the elephant in the room lah. The situation with MIC right now, right? Kan? Sebab the bigger context is that they're also part of the Perikatan National. So, macam mana kita nak push for UMNO? Okay, we can give suggestion for the party to also think about the other party coalition members that are actually driving your popularity.
What the arrangement that we see with unity government, right now, actually the arrangement that we made in 2022, depending on how many seats won by parties, If, for example, in the next generation, if BN really solid and the only thing I'm not sure whether they're going to contest in the one coalition, or we call it a super coalition with the Perikatan Harapan and the others, but it could be also not in the same coalition. They can contest separately, but of course they collaborate in terms of candidacy for the certain constituencies, they can collaborate on that, because it's used to happen before with Pakatan Rakyat, But in a way, if they're strong, they win more seats. For example, suddenly Umno contest, Perikatan National contest in the Malay base seat, then they win more than PAS, for example, and suddenly more than Pakatan Harapan. Okay, the argument why Pakatan Harapan lead the coalition and Dato' Seri Anwar Ibrahim become the Prime Minister is because of he got the highest numbers of seats. If BN get the highest number of seats, I can see that probably Zahid Hamidi can be a Prime Minister.
Be shift.
Yeah, it can be shift. And Anwar Ibrahim also have to hand over the premiership to Zahid Hamidi. So that's, I think, UMNO leader, UMNO people need also to think about this, Not thinking about, what can get from this. There's, always fighting and hated like the AP whatever. They can use the AP actually to help them to strengthen the party, So if you have that kind of realization of the dynamics that could happen if you're really strong and win more seats than Pakatan Harapan, actually you can lead the country instead of because we know that now Malaysia is no longer possible one coalition lead the nation.
You mean one party?
No, one party definitely.
Okay.
But now we talk about super coalition. That's why I say super coalition.
Yeah, that's why also. Yeah, I understand. But it's like, yeah, that's true. But it's also like a very funny sort of like area, or at least, I mean, basically time we're in, right? We have a like party become coalition. Now we have to rely on a super coalition. So after that, apa? Mega coalition. I was just about to say.
There's one thing that nobody realize. The government that being set up, almost government between Pakatan Harapan and Perikatan National. The only thing in Perikatan National decided not to be part of unity government. So that's why BN came in. So in the next election, suddenly number one Pakatan Harapan, number two Perikatan National again. So Perikatan National say, now we want in the government. So the dynamics could be changed. Depend on the situation during the election, because sometimes the situation in the election can be changed quickly. Within 2 weeks,
But don't you think the dynamics is already showing some slides of change in optics and also, if I may say, strategy since the cabinet reshuffle? Because the shifts of from one minister portfolio to another, for example, like Hannah Yeoh from sports to federal territories, and then you have everybody, I won't say everybody, but a lot of people have been voicing out their dissatisfaction towards Fadlina Siddiq for not stepping down. And then who else was moved? Additional seats, additional deputy ministerial positions being filled by the East Malaysians, MPs. So isn't that already like showing signs of dynamics going on?
The cabinet reshuffle actually is a reshuffle that trying their best to strengthen the government, aiming towards the next election actually, Okay, when you talk about Fadlina, so on, even I also observe, among the netizen probably, or among people probably, they don't like Fadlina. But
actually the people, we've got that too. They love Fadlina actually. We had this discussion also, apparently.
So contrasting.
Correct. In like behind the scenes, people within the actual force, they actually like Fadlina. And I probably, and the argument was, at the time we highlighted, perhaps like with this non-change, it's more spotlight on you. Meaning now you have to show, and the time is
recover lah.
Yeah, to recover lah before the next GE16. You have to show, and probably that's what, at least the Prime Minister is trying to give the best, because in education, at least, it's not just about student safety. It's not just the syllabus. It's everything, like infrastructure, teacher training, everything. There's a lot of things.
Yeah, even the Prime Minister also decided not to have a bigger reshuffle, because one, you have a bigger reshuffle, major reshuffle, then you have to, they also have limited time really to adjust things, So whatever, position, they just, for example, like Datuk Johari Ghani, for example, become the MITI minister, because I think he also suitable for that position, and it's not a problem for him to get used of that
transition.
The transition is not, I think it become very smooth. So, thinking of everything, so that's why they have to do some reshuffles of the cabinet just to strengthen a bit,
Right.
to ensure that they are become stronger come to the next election.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have come to the end of the show, but I do want to send off our guests with one question. So looking at GE16 itself, right, we talk about having to have a party or at least an administration or a coalition, a super coalition, or mega coalition, I'm not too sure, to be very centrist.
Yeah.
Right now, soalan panas here,
Yeah.
what party or which coalition actually showcase that today?
Yeah, I think in terms of the current unity government, I think the Pakatan Harapan and BN, when they be together with GPS and CRS, even though sometimes they take highliner approach, when it comes to government, they become centrist. Yeah? That even Perikatan National, when they form a government previously, they also take a very highliner position. They suddenly become centrist. I think that's the way of Malaysian politics in the future. Okay. However, the dynamic is different because the determinant factor in the voting now in the youth. Because youth age 40 and below, I think have a significant number, almost I think more than 50%, more, I think almost 60% of the voters. They are thinking a bit different. Z generation, Alpha generation, they are thinking a bit different. They can support whoever that they think can,
Whoever wins the social media gain or whoever says the right thing.
Need to be controlled or dominated by certain parties. Now, I think we can see Perikatan National dominated TikTok. But in the future, could be AI.
Yeah.
Play because we can see AI very popular, managed to let Prabowo, for example, win in Indonesia. Ferdinand Marcos Jr. win in the Philippines. Definitely in Malaysia. In
so
the next election,
you do see that seeping in because I think platforms are also having to put very strict sort of guardrails because of what had happened in Indonesia and what had happened in Philippines and what had happened in the last GE15 because of the Perikatan National camp because some campaigns were being monetized so now apparently dah tak boleh. So I don't know, but you do see that leaking into the next GE16, the AI.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Even the last American presidential election also used AI.
Okay.
Then definitely in the future, AI becomes so prominent. And our concern is, because we can use also AI to spread fake news, So I don't know whether people can really ready for that. How we need the challenge to determine which one is right, which is wrong, which one to support, because AI can really, make the young generations to sometimes decide wrongly in the election, So,
and we have to live with it for the next 5 years, right?
For the media, we'll have so many problems trying to filter these kind of things and to find out, to report whether this is the right thing to report or not.
The use of that.
Yeah.
Well, that's for a different day. The topic, but still interesting. Anyway, we've come to the end of the episode, as I mentioned, and it's really great to have our guests again. Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Muhammad Azizuddin, Muhammad Sani. Thank you so much because we talked about the power dynamics of the current ruling coalition as well as what the opposition can also bring. But I think the bigger thing that we hope for is that at the end of the day, the stability in our governance, right? Biasalah when they say nak dekat-dekat election ni, you'll see all this drama. It's like for some reason there's something in the air. But at least for
who's
the next...
resigning next?
Yeah, who's resigning next, right? Oh, yeah. My question would be a bit more morbid lah, but I'm not going to say it here.
Okay. Nanti lah lepas ni.
But we did speak about health and risks and stuff, but lah.
Exactly.
Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. If you do like this particular episode, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Don't forget to also turn on the notification bell if you haven't already. You not only get NSC Beyond the Headlines update, other NSC Online's news reports will be delivered to you. Again, I'd like to thank our guests, Professor Dr. Azizuddin, Sani, Muhammad Azizuddin, Muhammad Sani. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you so much, Lola, for having me as your co-host today.
I love it. I love to have fresh faces from the newsroom itself. And of course, to our audience, thank you so much for staying loyal to us. Once again, my name is Amalina Kamal, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.